Ashrita, taking shelter of. Atmana, by intelligence. Atmanam, the super soul. Atmastang, situated within myself. Yata Shrutam, as I had heard it from the liberated souls. Achintayan, thought over. Translation. After that, under the shadow of a banyan tree in an uninhabited forest, I began to meditate upon the super soul situated within, using my intelligence as I had learned from liberated souls. Purport: one should not meditate according to one's personal whims. One should know perfectly well from the authoritative sources of scriptures through the transparent medium of a bona fide spiritual master, and by proper use of one's trained intelligence for meditating upon the super soul dwelling within every living being. This consciousness is firmly developed by a devotee who has rendered loving service unto the Lord by carrying out the orders of the spiritual master. Sri Narada Ji contacted bona fide spiritual masters, served them sincerely, and got enlightenment rightly. Thus, he began to meditate. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master has kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Therefore, I must offer my humble obeisances unto him. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kata Maikyam Dadati Sha Pandantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this verse gives a very beautiful picture of Narad Muni, Narada. Oh, could we keep it on the? I'd like to keep it on there. No, can't keep the verse up there. Yeah, that's good. In the forest, how old was Narad Muni at this time?
5 years old.
Yeah, maybe a little older, because he had traveled. We were reading that he traveled through many different places, but and he was 5 when the great Bhaktivedantas came to stay in the home for a few months during the rainy season, but around that age, yeah. So he had traveled through countrysides, towns, villages, even the forests, and now he's sitting under a banyan tree in an uninhabited forest, and he's meditating on the super soul within. So see, Pipala means a banyan tree, Pipala there. And often we see pictures of Lord Buddha, isn't it? Sitting under a banyan tree meditating. Well, here, prior to that, we have Narad Muni doing a similar thing in a different capacity, because he is following the instructions of his spiritual masters that he had received previously about how to meditate on the Supersoul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, within his heart and within everybody's heart. Sarvasya chaham Riddhi shani vishto. Sarvasya chaham Riddhi. I am within everybody's heart, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So although he's there, most of the time, if you're like me, most of the time I forget about it, I ignore that. So the process of Krishna consciousness, bhakti yoga, means to increase our remembrance and focus and service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the heart and within everything. So this Srila Prabhupada's first point in the purport is that one should not meditate according to one's personal whims. In Bhagavad Gita, I think you probably know that Lord Krishna in the 6th chapter gives a number of instructions about how to perform dhyan yoga or meditational yoga. Do you happen to know any of those instructions? I'm sure you do. Maybe a little shy.
Go to a secluded place.
What's that?
One should go to a secluded place.
Yeah. Very good. Shucho deshe pravishtabhya. Shucho deshe. You know, shuchi means what? Clean. Yeah. So Shucho deshe is a very sanctified, clean place. So Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport of that verse that transcendentalists, they often go to holy places like Vrindavan, Mathura, Haridwar, Rishikesh, etc. And there's so many holy places in the world to begin their practice or to continue their practice of yoga. So in this case, Narada was not necessarily going to a holy place as far as we know. It's not mentioned, but also, in those days, the sages and aspirants to make progress in spiritual life would often go to the forest because the forest was considered to be, what's that?
Suchi, clean.
In the mode of goodness, yeah, Sochi, like Shauchi, yeah, Suchi, in the mode of goodness. Whereas the village is in the mode of passion, or the city is in the mode of passion, and the liquor shop or brothel is in the mode of ignorance. So he's in the forest, in the mode of goodness. Of course, in the forest, there are various challenges that you might face, especially in those days. What kind of challenges would you face in the forest?
Snakes.
Snakes, yes. Anything else?
Tigers.
Tigers, lions, yeah, all these wild animals. So
hunger, lack of food.
Yeah, all these things. So there's a challenge. The challenges are there. So to overcome the snake problem, the yogis, they wouldn't, you see nowadays people have their yoga mat that they take with them for doing their asanas. They didn't use that kind of yoga mat. They used a deer skin and a soft cloth, according to the Bhagavad Gita. Why did they use the deer skin? You know why?
It's because there's certain oils or scents that is a natural repellent for snakes.
Yes, yes. So the yogis weren't killing the deers, but the kings, the kshatriyas, would practice their martial arts in the forest, and they would practice sometimes killing the deer, but the point was they would have to give the deer skin to a sage for his purpose of spiritual life progress. So that would repel the uh, snakes, cobras, and those things. What about the lions and tigers? How do you take those? So you don't read in the Srimad Bhagavatam many sages getting eaten up by lions and tigers, do you? Do we read any point of that? No. Also the Kshatriya kings would come and go into the forest hunting, like Parikshit Maharaj and others, and to keep the lion and tiger population a little bit at bay, they would also hunt those. And one of the purposes was to make sure that they weren't harassing or causing unnecessary eating up the sages who were there in the forest. Nowadays, people hunt for a different purpose. They want to show the heads on the wall, and they think they're very manly. But there was a specific purpose for the hunting, not only to practice the martial art, but also to protect the sages who were living in the forest. So yeah, these are some of the instructions Lord Krishna gives. First, go to a holy place or a secluded place, and Srila Prabhupada comments that it's practicing so-called yoga in cities is this meditational yoga in cities is practically, it's not possible. What are the reasons that someone goes to an uninhabited place? What's the reason behind that? Do you have any idea?
So that there are less distractions.
Yeah, there's so many distractions. I mean, no, in a forest, there's no cell phone reception, right? No cinema, TV, etc. No other. There's practically, in this case, it says there's nirmanujay, no other people there. So sometimes it occurs that when someone practices spiritual life, they go alone. Why? Because other people, especially if they are materialistically inclined, they tend to deviate somebody from their determination to follow through on their spiritual practice. That's why Prahlad Maharaj says that it's essential in devotional life that association is just like a jewel that reflects anything in anything that comes in contact with. Similarly, we in this world, we associate with different kinds of people, and according to our association, our tendencies develop. That's why, and Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, Jayato Vishayan Pumsam Sankasteshu Pajayate. This material thoughts develop by Sangha, thinking about and associating with material-minded people. Therefore, Rishabh Dev said, Mahat Sevam Dvaram Ahur Vimukte Tamodvaram Yoshitam Sangi Sangam. By associating with great, learned, elevated devotees, the door for liberation is wide open. And that's the experience here of Narid. But by associating with materialistic people who are interested in sense gratification of various kinds, getting wealth, gratifying their senses in intoxication, illicit sex, gambling, etc., then the door for hell, Yoshitam Tamodvaram, the door to darkness is open, the door to hell is open. Lord Chaitanya, when asked, what is the what is the criterion for a devotee, for a Vaishnava, Lord Chaitanya immediately said, you know what he said? Asat sangatyaga e Vaishnavacha. Asat sangatyaga, to give up the association of materially minded persons. So that's a really important part of practicing spiritual life. So it's not that one has to go be alone, like in Narada Muni in this case, but to be alone from material association. Does that make sense? Just like some people take the vow of silence, which is called Mauna Vrat. Have you heard this?
Mhm.
So devotees can also take a vow of silence, Mauna Vrat, but in their Mauna Vrat, they vow not to make any material sound vibrations, right? So they can chant the holy names and read Srimad Bhagavatam and talk about Lord Krishna or the devotees of Krishna, Srila Prabhupada. That is mauna, because no material sound vibration. Spiritual sound vibration is very beneficial. So in the same way, we devotees, if we follow kind of in the footsteps, because Narad Muni is our acharya, he's our predecessor acharya, following in his footsteps, going to a secluded place where there's nobody, to us means being in a situation where we associate with people interested in spiritual life, making progress in spiritual life. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastrakai, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhihai. And then Srila Prabhupada makes the point that we don't meditate according to our whim. So the first whim is be in association with devotees. And another the point is that even though the force is in the mode of goodness, it's said that the temple is transcendental. Because the temple is a place where, at least theoretically, everybody is engaged in Krishna service. So this is a very good place. Go to a sacred place. And then not meditate according to one's personal whim. Sometimes you hear people talk about they're meditating in this way or that way, which is good. They at least for that time, one might not be engaging in other kinds of activities. But what is the focus of the meditation? That is the important point. So what do you focus your consciousness on? So that is often not understood. The focus of the consciousness, as Narad Muni is showing, is on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here he's talking about the Paramatma, as he was shown as he was instructed by his spiritual masters. Of course, apparently this is in a different yuga. It's certainly in a different, this was a different day of Brahma. When the meditational yogic practice was possible. Now it's not possible. It's practically impossible. There might be one or two people who could do it, but practically impossible. It's not possible in this age. So then the method in this age is to get the same result as Narad Muni. We get instructed by our liberated souls, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to chant the holy names of the Lord a regulated number of times, at least 16 rounds, to get this same enlightenment that Narad Muni is experiencing here. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalau nasteva gatiranyata. In this age of Kali, there's no other method. than for spiritual progress. Other places, other ages, it was possible. It was possible in Satya Yuga to do this meditational practice. But in Kali Yuga, the only method for spiritual advancement, according to the Brihad Naradiya Purana and Srila Prabhupada, is the regular, constant chanting of the holy names of the Lord, Hare Nama. So this is very nice. This pastime of Narad Muni is a very attractive, at least to me, it's very attractive. And some of the ingredients of the pastime are that he was just a young boy of 5. So as the Mother Shobharade said, so if even a young boy of 5 can make progress, there's hope for us, right? But what was required? He had to hear from great Bhaktivedantas and then follow their instructions. And in a very short time, I mean, how long did he hear the instructions of the great Bhaktivedantas?
4 months.
4 months during the rainy season. Yeah, 4 months. And how long have we been hearing them? And so we're put to a little bit to shame by Narad Muni in that sense, because we've had much more opportunity. But now we by hearing about Narad Muni, we can realize that if one is really serious about making spiritual progress, look what the result can be after just a short time of focusing our minds on Krishna. He's going to have the actual audience of the Supreme Lord. This is pretty amazing. So you see in back here, I have the picture of Narad Muni. You see that? He's our Acharya in our line of disciplic succession. So actually, the first Back to Godhead magazine I got had an article by Satsvarup Maharaj about the Narad Muni. It was in the Back to Godhead 1970, I think it was 70. And so it said there that if you remember this in the morning and evening, then you'll make spiritual progress. The story of Narad Muni from Srimad Bhagavatam. So I thought, wow, that's very, very direct. This is, it's not just that, somebody becomes spiritual, you can make spiritual progress just by, luck, but there's actually a process, like Narad Muni followed, process of hearing. So I recorded the story of Narad Muni on a tape recorder. I was at college, and every night and every morning I'd play that as I was resting there just before going to sleep. So then the first temple that I went to, actual temple, I opened the door, and who did I see there? Right inside the temple.
Narad Muni.
That's right. Narad Muni was there. So they had in the early days, Srila Prabhupada had the artists paint portraits of Narad Muni, and they were sent to every temple. So every temple had a picture of Narad Muni. And in that temple I went to, it was London Temple. As soon as you opened the door, there was this gigantic picture of Narad Muni. So I thought, this is really something. I could I'm stepping in the right direction under the care of Narad Muni through Srila Prabhupada's grace. So we have that opportunity to follow in the footsteps here, and by following the orders and the directions given by Srila Prabhupada, using our intelligence. There's a verse in Bhagavad Gita about the intelligence being higher. You know that verse? Anybody? Indriyani paranyahur indriyebhya paramana manasastu parabudhir yobudhe paratastu sa. The working senses are superior to dull matter. mind is higher than the senses, intelligence is still higher than the mind, and he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. So the intelligence is the function of the intelligence is what? To control the mind, because the mind is going here and there and here and there. There's a picture there in the Bhagavad Gita of a person sitting on a chariot, and there's horses, and then the horses are running out of control, isn't it? You know that picture?
Yes.
Can you explain? Nobody? Please.
So it's the idea that
Krishna is controlling the horses.
No.
Mind.
Go ahead. That's Dronacharya Prabhu.
no, if I can remember correctly. So the
Five senses is controlling.
the five horses are the five senses, and then tied to the horses are the reins, which is the mind. But the mind is being directed by, or the reins are being directed by the chariot driver. So if the chariot driver has strong hold of the reins, the horses can be directed, or the senses can be directed properly. But if the intelligence of the driver is very weak, the reins will just kind of flop in the wind, and the horses can just run sporadically and cause a lot of danger.
Yeah. So the senses, sometimes the intelligence just drops the reins, right? So then the chariot goes wherever, can go over a cliff. And that's usually what happens. In the morning time, I take a japa walk, and there's a nearby park, and there's a guy there who's got his dog, and his dog is, he's got it on a leash, but the leash, he's pulling him, go this way, go this way, go this way. He's running around the park. He has no control over the dog. So that's like the senses, the mind, the intelligence is given up its power to the senses, the dog. So that's often what happens. But we need to strengthen our intelligence. How do we do that?
Chanting Hare Krishna.
Yeah, practice. It's undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by practice and detachment. Practice means as we're chanting the holy names from whatever and wherever the mind wanders, due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. So that practice, just like, I don't know if there's usually it's not the ladies, but the gents, they may do weightlifting. And why do you do weightlifting? Because you think, why is it? You think that you're by doing it regularly, then your muscles get stronger because you practice doing it, right? Over time, it strengthens your muscles. So there's an ability, an ability of the intelligence to control the mind by practicing it. By practicing that ability, you'll get stronger at it. You follow? Just like you get stronger lifting weights. It's an exterior example. Same way that you practice controlling the mind by the intelligence, by directing it. Oh, what is my focus? What should my focus be? Not just letting the mind wander, but focus it back on hearing the vibration, the transcendental vibration of the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Srila Prabhupada emphasized this, Lord Chaitanya emphasized this, and then at the same time, by constant practice and detachment, giving up material activities, material association as much as possible, so that one can make rapid progress. there's a example that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to give about a wedding party. You might have heard this when it's in India in the olden days when they didn't have so much cars. So they used to travel, especially in Bengal. There's a lot of waterways, so they would travel by water in these kind of boats. So the gents party, he had his group of people, and they were coming to the bank of a river, and they would have to travel down the river to the wedding the next day. So there were many of them. They got in a few boats. One of the boats was there, and it was getting late, so they decided, well, we'll just go to sleep, and the next morning we'll be there. Some distance away was the destination, so the next morning we'll wake up and we'll be there. So that like that. Sometimes you may have traveled in a train and been an overnight train. So similar thing, similar idea. So anyway, they got in the boat, and the boatman started rowing, and so they all went to sleep. Then they woke up the next morning at crack of dawn, and they looked around, and what happened? They were the same place they were the night before. Why?
They never lifted their anchor.
The boatman forgot to lift the anchor. That's right. So this is us. If we don't, we forget to take up the anchor of our some of our material attachments, then we're not making very good progress. We won't make progress like that. So anyway, these are some ideas that come to mind for this purport and this verse of Srila Narad Muni, great soul. Narad Muni bhajai vina radhika ramana name. Narad Muni. So he was lucky. He was very lucky that he got the association of spiritual masters, just as you and I are lucky to have the association of Srila Prabhupada and his disciples and grand disciples. Brahmanda Brahmite Ghono Bhagyavan Jeev. Bhagyavan means lucky, fortunate. Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prashade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. Because by getting that mercy of Krishna and the spiritual master, then one can get the seed of devotional service and how to get out of this material tabernacle of birth, death, old age, and disease. So I'll leave it there. If you have comments or questions or additions, commentaries, this is a very nice verse, not a long purport, but if you'd like to say something, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. It's
Hare
a
Krishna, Mother Shobharadi.
very sobering thought that, you were saying that temple is a place of transcendence, even better than a forest, which is in the mode of goodness. And, having been going to a temple for 30 plus years, I am still where I am. And
Yeah, we're in the same boat. Yeah.
it's to be 50 years, and then I will be 60, and then I'll be 70, and I will still be here, still saying, it's just.
So we have to make progress. Yes.
Yeah, but why, at the very end, you gave the answer. I was going to ask, why is it we are not making progress? What is it we have to do? But I think you said at the very end, we need to lift that anchor off. And I don't understand what is it that is preventing us from lifting that anchor out.
Everybody has a different, what their anchor is. It might not be the same for everybody, but that's a one. I mean, on one side, it's important to be, the more we are attracted to Krishna, then the less the attraction for the material attachments will be there. But also, it's one of the offenses in chanting the holy name, if you know, is to to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names, and to maintain material attachment, even after understanding so many instructions. And what is that material attachment? I mean, that one needs one. It's important to kind of assess oneself, look at oneself, not with the eyes, but with spiritual vision given by the spiritual master, and see how we can what we can do to reduce that to nil, hopefully. So go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, I'm trying to think. We listen to classes, we understand what you are saying, and we don't disagree with anything, and still I'm not doing it. So what is it? What other help could I get? Where else do I look? What else will help me look within? I have to do it. I get it.
That is a very good thing. That is this is the attitude we need to have. How come I'm still in this position of not really being able to embrace Krishna consciousness and devotional service and Krishna's lotus feet? I have to. So I know I have to increase my devotional service. Now, increase devotional. Prabhupada was saying that as you increase your devotional service, then your attraction and attachment to the other side becomes reduced to nil. So increased devotional service means increase in quality and in quantity. So the more tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pridipurvakam. So yeah, increasing our devotional service. It's a tall order. How we can do that, we have to see. And that's not going to happen like day after tomorrow. But and Lord Chaitanya also said, but that sentiment that you're expressing is very wonderful sentiment. Yeah. How come after all this time I'm not more Krishna conscious? Well, that's humility. That's very good. Lord Chaitanya said, this holy name alone can render all benediction on the living beings, but I have no attraction for them. Lord Chaitanya, I'm still, I should go further. Sometimes we get stuck in our position thinking, okay, yeah, I'm a devotee. I do, I'm Krishna conscious and stuff like that. Well, no. If we're actually a devotee, we would be hankering for more service, do more, always to hear and associate with devotees all the time. So that what you're saying, expressing is wonderful, because it's the humble position that we're in, and we do have to make progress. Sometimes we forget that. We just do these things and then everything's okay. Well, that's true to a certain extent, but what is the ingredient, the price of entry into the spiritual world? Lolium. Lolium means what?
Greed.
Yeah. I need it. Like a greedy person. I need that $1 million. I'm going to make $1 million. And they're not deviated, right? So I'm going to make the lotus feet of Krishna. I'm going to get, so that lolium, that intense desire, let's cultivate that if we can, to please Srila Prabhupada. Now this Deepavali, then Govardhan Puja. Let's do it in a way that will please Srila Prabhupada and please Krishna the best we can. And then it's up to Krishna. Krishna gave enlightenment. It's interesting in the purport, Narada contacted bona fide spiritual masters, served them sincerely, and got enlightenment rightly. Thus he began to meditate. So it seems from the way Prabhupada is saying this, that the enlightenment was already there when he began to meditate, isn't it? See that? Mm-hmm. So, and then, but you could say, well, the enlightenment came when Krishna appears to him in a short time, but the enlightenment came from his instructions, and so that gave him the path to come. So come to the point of where he is now, to get the association and darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you're enlightened by the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, Lord Krishna, and your spiritual master, and the result will come, and let's increase our enthusiasm to get there.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Other statements, other Anybody else would have some input for that point would be nice too.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I just want to say that our mind is so materially attached these days, so much attached that even if we go to the forest and live there and do bhakti, we will not be able to live there for long. Our mind, we would feel like going back to the material world. Like example is when I go to my home place, which is Himachal Pradesh, and there's dense forest, lot of nice birds sing in the morning, nice sunshine, nice air, good weather, very pleasant. But after 20 days, I want to come back. So our mind is so materially attached. So it is very difficult for us to do bhakti. And because our mind is so attached to things. So
Yes, very good point. Wherever we go, we bring our mind with us, and it gives us a little trouble. When I was a student, I went to college, and I had you had to live in a dormitory, and I had a roommate, and the roommate, in those days, there wasn't restriction on smoking, and so the roommate smoked cigars. I hated it. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? So, I'm in the room, and then he starts smoking a cigar, and it becomes there's this cloud. So I asked him to stop, but he refused, so anyway. So then every morning I wake up and there's this guy there who's smoking a cigar. That's like us and our mind is as soon as we wake up, there's this thing that's this mind that's giving us trouble about so many things. Oh, you need this, you need that. Go here, go there. Eat this, eat that. So Krishna does say, though, that it is possible to curb the mind by constant practice and detachment.
Oh, Prabhu,
Yeah.
I have some. You were mentioning Tetam Tatatam Gita. There's another verse, 726 also, it said about how can we worship the Lord with determination. Tesam Antagata Papam Gananam Punya Karmanam Te Dwanda Moham Nirmukta Bhajatam Mam Drida Vrataha. Person who have acted piously in the previous life and this life, one who has completely freed from sinful activities, illusion, dualities, worship me in devotion with determination. So how does it relate to the, to the verse that, to the discussion we're just having, why we are not, we still, so many years, we still not, not really, making any advancement. So how do we relate this verse to that statement?
Jesham antagatam papam. They've stopped their sinful reaction. Jesham antagatam papam. Jananam punyaka, and then for birth after birth, jananam punyaka. Janana means many births. They've been engaged in pious activity. So, we have this one life. So it's a one life. Hopefully, we've stopped our sinful activities. No illicit sex, no intoxication, no meat eating, and no gambling. So Krishna says that it will take for somebody who's done that for many lives, they can engage in devotional service with the determination. We have the opportunity in this one life. My only comment would be, we would need, let's do more devotional service, and then that'll inspire us to do more and more. Srila Prabhupada said, what is the result of this chanting? Hare Krishna? More chanting. More chanting. So, the process is there. Narada Muni is showing us. Let's apply it a little more assiduously, carefully, and we'll get the result. Srila Prabhupada never gave this example, but there's a discussion in the prologue to the discussion about the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's a devotee named Gokarna. Anyway, he had a brother was quite nasty guy, and the brother, when he died, he became a ghost. Here we just had Halloween. So he became a ghost, and he inhabited a bamboo piece of stick that had different sections. You know how bamboo has sections? 7 sections. So, but Gokarna was a devotee, and so one time he convened a Srimad Bhagavatam reading 7 days straight, with the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, not just the Rasa Lila, but the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. And there were many people that participated. So 7 days straight they did it, not sleeping, not eating. Every day that stick would happen to be in the house, and each day one of the knots of the stick broke. And on the 7th day, after they completed the Srimad Bhagavatam, his brother appeared, as a Vaikuntha, and went back to Godhead, a Vaikuntha, an associate of Vishnu. So all the people there witnessed that. And I said, well, how come he was able to go back to Godhead, but we're still here? Your brother was there as a ghost. He had done so many things, and now we're still here. What happened? So you know what the answer was? What did Gokarna say?
Because he hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, I think that time.
But they were all hearing Srimad Bhagavatam.
He was with all determination, rapt attention.
Yes, yeah, he was really, really serious about it, and you weren't as serious. So therefore, the result was there. And so then they just said, okay, let's do it again. Let's do the Srimad Bhagavatam again. So they did it a second time, but this time the hearers were all very, very serious about it. And what happened? They all got back to Godhead. So that's that's the truth. This is Deepavali. How do you say Happy Deepavali, or do you say that? What do you say?
Happy Diwali. I don't know.
You say it like that?
Yeah.
Subhakankshala.
What do you say?
Deepavali Subhakankshala.
Deepavali Shubha.
Subhakankshala means happy, means like wishing, like
Okay.
there's the meaning in our
Diwali
Sanskrit.
Mubarak ho, Prabhuji.
Mubarak in Hindi.
What's that?
And
Diwali Mubarak.
No,
Diwali
like
Parak?
Mubarak.
Mubarak.
Mubarak. Oh, Naya Sal Mubarak. Oh yeah, I remember that.
Naya Saal Mubarak. Deepavali Mubarak.
we also say
Janmadin Mubarak.
Deepavali. Shubh Deepavali.
Shubha Deepavali.
Yeah,
Shubha
Shubh.
Deepavali.
Yeah.
That's what Subhakankshala also in this thing.
Yeah. Shubha Deepavali. Yeah. So yeah, you oftentimes people, they make some special things at home, is it? How do you observe it? How do you observe it?
Morning they do puja. They
Yeah.
do lamps in at deities.
Okay.
And in Tamil Nadu they wake up at 4 o'clock and they do the puja and then do the firecrackers and
Firecrackers?
at 4 o'clock.
I didn't know
And
Deepavali had firecrackers.
yes, wear new clothes and then go to the pay obeisances to elders, all the elderly people.
And we
Oh, okay.
That is the system in Tamil Nadu.
the snacks we make and distribute. In India, we used to distribute to our neighbors.
Sweets, of course, they do.
Yeah. We used to have new clothes. Then we would have, in the evening, we have lit a lot of lamp. And all day,
Yeah.
the mothers will make so many sweets. Then, like you said, we distribute to the neighbors.
Oh, you distribute sweets to the neighbors?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody does like that, give and take like that thing happens. Neighbors
Okay.
give to each other.
Yeah, exchange of the gifts, Prabhuji. Dadati pratigrinati.
Yeah, I didn't research what Srila Prabhupada said about Diwali. I can look at that next time. Yeah, I could have done
I
that.
was reading what Prabhupada said, Gagamuni Prabhu put on Facebook. I was reading, he said that on that day, Lord Ramachandra returned from 14 years of exile.
Yeah, they
And
celebrate.
all the inhabitants of of Ayodhya, they get very, very happy and just start lighting up all the cities of Ayodhya just to welcome him back.
Yeah, here
Yeah.
I'm looking at a letter to Hansadutta. Here, this is in let's see, October 10th, 1968. He says, Diwali ceremony can be observed in the temple by illuminating hundreds of candles in different parts of the temple and offering special prasad to the deity. This ceremony was, as you said, as was observed by the inhabitants of Ayodhya, the kingdom of Lord Ramchandra, when Lord Ramchandra was out of his kingdom due to 14 years banishment by the order of his father. Yeah. This is the original idea of Diwali and Deepavali. Deepavali means the same thing. Deepa means candles, Bali means numerous.
Yeah.
Bali means numerous. When numerous candles are lighted, it is called Deepavali. In India, this Deepavali function is celebrated in a special auspicious occasion. The Deepavali function can be observed on 21st October, and prasad can be distributed on 22nd October during the daytime, which is known as Govardhan Puja and Anakut ceremony. In India and all Vaishnava temples, this ceremony is observed, and hundreds of people are given prasad according to the capacity of the temple. So I understand that last year the Deepavali ceremony was held in the temple, and there was a collection of $130. So you can do the needful. That letter, yeah. Yes, that's the same one. Hare Krishna. Same letter. Yes. Thank you very much. Pancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu. So some festival days there's fasting, but in Deepavali and Govardhan Puja it's not fasting.
No fasting.
Jagannath Rath Yatra there's not fasting, but some festival days is fasting, but not all. Some fasting, some feasting, like that.
Yeah, it is. Feasting, Prabhuji, so many varieties of sweets and all.
Are you offering them?
Yeah, Prabhuji.
What are you offering?
Nikunj Lila has prepared many sweets.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And it is her birthday today, Prabhuji. So if she can be blessed.
Oh, she didn't want you to say?
Yeah. Today is Nikunj Lila birthday, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations then.
Yeah.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Lord Chaitanya used to bless people, and we can't have that blessing, but we can say Krishna Matirastu, may you become fully Krishna conscious. Yeah. She comes in, she's just coming and disappearing. I don't know. That's the Hare Krishna.
Because of
background,
Prabhuji.
Okay. Very nice. Happy birthday. Hare Krishna.
you so
Many
much.
happy returns of the day.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you all of the devotees.
Hare Krishna.